You expect me to talk?
No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to dine.
Written by Christopher Wood and Tom Mankiewicz, who didn't want to be mentioned back in the day, but he contributed to the script. Once again directed by Louis Gilbert. 1979's Moonraker. This is a highly controversial film among fans. It's a heavily criticized film, among fans as well as among the public. It's criticized for being a little over the top, for pushing things a little too far in terms of action, in terms of the science fiction elements, in terms of the humor. But I always say your enjoyment of this film depends on how much you are willing to accept it for what it is. How much you are willing to just go along with the ride, just go along with it. And if you're able to do this, I guarantee you will have a great time, because it is a great film. The overall plot of this film is our villain, played by Michael Lonsdale. He's called Hugo Drax. He's a German-French businessman, billionaire, and he owns a private company which is producing space shuttles for NASA. And his plan is basically to wipe out human life on Earth and then to repopulate Earth with a genetically superior master race. That's over the top, of course, but at the same time it's pretty dark if you think about it. You immediately think of the Nazis and stuff like that. Yeah, pretty dark stuff. What I like most about this film, and I think that's not talked about enough, it's the script. I think it's a very well-written film. The whole plot, how it unfolds, and how it's presented to us step by step. There are films like Tomorrow Never Dies, for example, where we get to know about the villain's plans in the first 10 minutes. We get to know everything about it, how they are doing it, why they are doing it. Not so in this film. The plot gets revealed very slow and step by step, and we, as well as Bond himself, are discovering what's going on slowly. So there's this Moonraker stolen in the pre-title sequence, and it strikes his company. So you're asking yourself, why is it stolen, by whom, and for what? And later Bond discovers the secret lab in Venice, where the vials are produced, which are used to wipe out the human race. And, step by step you get to know what's going on here. And by the finale, Drax is finally revealing his whole plan to us. And I think that's suspenseful. I think that's a very well-written script. It's fast-paced. And I think doesn't get enough credit for this. That's what I like most about this film. I really enjoy the pre-title sequence. I think this is one of the best action scenes in the whole franchise. Bond getting pushed out of a plane without a parachute. That's very exciting because, again, what you see is what you get. It's real stunt people jumping out of a plane and fighting in mid-air. Imagine how difficult this must have been to get on film back in the late 70s. Long before digital, and it holds up. It's a timeless action scene. It could be in a 2025 action film, could be in some Mission Impossible film. You feel the danger. It feels dangerous because it is. Because what you see, real people are doing this. I think that's very exciting. I love this scene. It's a very adventurous and exotic film. The beautiful locations, Rio de Janeiro, beautiful Venice. You got the rainforest scenes. Yeah, it's all very adventurous. Of course, we have to talk about the elephant in the room, which is the scenes in space. This was the late 70s and Star Wars was pretty fresh. So, of course, they tried to capitalize on the success of the Star Wars films. And yeah, the whole space, the war going on in space looks pretty ridiculous. I admit that. There's a nice set piece, the inside of the interior of the space station. It's a classic Bond set, just with of course, a science fiction-y vibe. But the whole battle with the lasers looks ridiculous, I admit that. But the rest of the film is your typical Roger Moore era Bond film, with traveling around the world, nice locations, great villain, nice Bond girls. You get everything you love about the franchise. It's only the last 30 minutes where it gets a little messy and a little goofy. And if you are able to overlook this, maybe like I do, I enjoy this film a lot. But the space scenes, not so much. Our villain, Hugo Drax, is very entertaining, played by Michael Lonsdale. I like him a lot. The scene where he's introduced to us sitting at the piano and his cold face and his expressionless eyes, and there's a lot of British snobism going on, like we love as fans. Yeah, I think he's pretty funny. There's Jaws back in this film. And, just for his presence alone, I loved this back in my childhood days. Sadly, they portray him in a more humoristic, in a more comedic way than they did in this film's predecessor, The Spy Who Loved Me. And I think that's pretty sad. I think that was a mistake because he was such a sinister presence in The Spy Who Loved Me. The way they lit him and they filmed him and the music, very dark. I was pretty afraid of him in my childhood days, and they decided to, yeah, sadly to make a little joke out of him. And yeah, I don't really know why they did it, but he still has some amazing scenes. I like the scene where he goes against Drax in the end. Because, Drax tries to repopulate Earth with this, as I said, genetically, physically superior master race. When he realizes that he's not measuring up to Drax's standards of physical perfection, he goes against him, and there's, some pain in his face. I can see some disappointment, and I think it's an underrated performance by Richard Kiel. I think it's an intense moment, and a little highlight of the film. So I can't say much about the Bond girl, Holly Goodhead. Yeah, I don't know why. Maybe she's not written that well. But on the other hand, many Bond girls aren't written that well, and I like them. I don't really know why I don't like her that much. Maybe I have to rethink it. No, she's not my favorite. I like Corinne Devouer. She's the second Bond girl. She has very little screen time. She's a little naive and girly and innocent. And I like the chemistry she has with Roger Moore. And, with this film, it brings me to my next point. A lot of people are talking about the science fiction-y elements and about the more comedic stuff, the more over-the-top stuff, but there are also some pretty serious moments in this film. It's like with Octopussy. I talked about this in another review. Many people love to talk about the comedic elements of Octopussy and how it's just a fun movie. And I said I think it's a pretty rough spy thriller with some humor just sprinkled in there. And in this film, there are also some dark scenes not a lot of people seem to talk about. Corinne Devouer, this innocent, charming little girl, she falls for Roger Moore's charms, and she gets brutally murdered for this. This is such a dark scene. She gets chased by these dogs through the woods, and ripped apart by these dogs. You don't see any blood. You don't see this, but the way it's filmed, the lighting, the dark music. I remember back in my childhood days, I was heartbroken because this nice little innocent girl gets killed by these dogs, and I think that's pretty dark stuff. Very interesting. So yeah, I don't really like the Bond girl. I like the action scenes. The pre-title sequence is amazing. Then there's a nice boat chase in the rainforests. That's very entertaining and also pretty amazing stunt work. One of my favorite scenes in the film is the final confrontation between Bond and Drax, where he quotes, of course, it's a small step for you, but a big step for humanity, and then kills him with the poisoned arrow and catapults him out into space. What a great final confrontation this is. The effects, as I said, in this while the space battle are ridiculous. Like they look stupid. The music is fine. It's not my favorite score, and it's not my favorite title track. They brought back Shirley Bassey, and it's always great to hear her voice because it's such a familiar voice. And nice to have her back, but it's not my favorite track. Maybe that's just my personal taste, but I don't think it's very exciting. Pre-title sequence, yeah, also beautiful, but nothing that stands out. Yeah, overall, I would say it's a very well-written script. It has a great villain, it has Jaws, it has amazing action scenes, especially the pre-title sequence. And if you are willing to accept the last 20 to 30 minutes, I think, yeah, you will have a great time with this. Maybe I convinced some of you to give it another try, maybe to rewatch it if you haven't seen it in a long time. Would be nice. I think that's it for today. Nothing really to say, nothing really left to say. Thank you for watching. Love you, love the Bond community, and see you very soon.